I've recently done a video about the Megan Walsh, John Walsh, and the unsolved murder of Adam Walsh on my main channel. I will link that video in the description of this video as well as pin it in the comments. Please go watch that video. Megan Walsh is speaking out because John and her mother, Reve, have took another baby from Megan and are giving her no reasoning as to why they keep taking her kids, why DHS, why CPS keeps taking her kids, but yet they don't try to look at no medical documentations that she has to present them. Like, it's just a little sketchy to me, okay? She was out here speaking. She was crying out for help. And as a mother, I heard her cries. I felt her cries. And I had to help out in any way possible. So I lent her my platform and I uploaded a video about her story. I wanted to get it out there, help her get it out there to bring awareness to this case and this situation, because it's not just a situation with them two. This is a situation at hand with the entire world and the way our kids are being handled in the system. But like I said, that's all in that video, so be sure you check out that video. This video is taking a more in-depth dive into the disappearance and alleged murder of Megan Walsh's brother, John Walsh's son, Adam Walsh. Now, we're going to take it all the way back. Shout out to the Arthur J. Project. Shout out to Drinking the Kool-Aid podcast. I will link all the videos and articles and podcasts referenced in the description of this video. So be sure you check them out, because the things that I am about to discuss and tell y'all, woo, child, pull up a chair, grab you some snacks, grab you some tea, grab you some soda pops. We about to be here for a while. Let's get into it. I'm going to link this podcast, Drinking the Kool-Aid, in the description of this video, as well as pin it in the comments. This is what we are about to indulge in right now. I'm about to pull up the transcript, and we're about to read from the transcript. Good job, ladies. Shout out to the ladies of this podcast. I appreciate you and your hard work. Y'all go follow them. Adam John Walsh was born November 14th, 1974, on the afternoon of July 27th, 1981. Adam's mother, Reve, took him shopping. The two headed to the Hollywood Mall in Hollywood, Florida. When they arrived, they entered through the north entrance and went into Sears. Reve wanted to look at a lamp that was on sale, and as you may expect, that wasn't Adam's jam. He was 6. The Sears store had a kiosk with an Atari video game on display, and there were several other boys playing the games. Reve left Adam at the game station, and she headed to the lamp department, which wasn't far from the video games. Around 12:15 p.m., she headed back to the game and discovered that Adam and the other boys were gone. Apparently, the boys weren't playing nice. A store manager heard a fight break out over whose turn it was at the game, and a teenage security guard kicked them out. The security guard claims that he asked the older boys if their parents were at the store, and they said they weren't. Adam's parents say that their son was very shy and he wouldn't have responded to the security guard. It's possible that the lack of response would have made the guard assume he was with the older boys. The guard made all the boys leave the store and they headed out the west entrance. It's believed that the older boys just took off and left Adam by himself. So at this point, a 6-year-old is in an unfamiliar place, got kicked out of a store, and went out a different entrance than the one he entered with his mom. Adam's mother started searching for her son right away. She checked the Sears store and the toy department, had him paged over the intercom system. She ended up running into her mother-in-law, Jean, and the pair continued to search. After searching for more than 90 minutes, the police were called, and this would have been at 1:55 p.m. On August 10th, a severed head was discovered in a drainage canal along the Florida Turnpike near Vero Beach, almost 130 miles from Hollywood. The head was discovered by 2 fishermen who saw the head floating. Divers were sent to search the canal, and on the morning of August 11th, Adam's parents appeared on national television to announce that they had hoped Adam was alive, and there was a $100,000 reward for his safe return. Shortly after this, the remains were identified as Adam's. The coroner ruled that the cause of death was asphyxiation, and they were not able to find the rest of his body. Okay, $100,000 was a lot of money back in the early 80s, was it not? How did they have... Well, I guess because John was over the hotels and done all this stuff, I guess they had access to all that. Now, John and Reve do believe the Hollywood Police Department botched the whole case. This isn't a surprise, but Adam's father was on the prime suspect at the beginning of the investigation. He was cleared pretty early on, though. There was another suspect, Jim Campbell, who was a landscaper and family friend and lived with the Walshes for 2 years. He had an affair with Reve and moved out 2 weeks before Adam's disappearance. Police wondered if he killed him to get back at her. He did take a lie detector test and passed, but he didn't have a good alibi for the hour of Adam's abduction. The police strongly thought this was their guy because it looked like a good motive. They allowed Campbell to volunteer to answer phones at police headquarters. Their main suspect was answering phones to collect tips on the case. In May 1995, some articles were posted in an Alabama newspaper that tossed out a new theory. A family friend named Michael Monahan could have murdered Adam as a favor to his friend Jim Campbell to get back at Reve. Monahan was on probation after a federal conviction for the extortion of a stockbroker who was later found murdered. Monahan passed a lie detector test regarding the abduction. Fast forward, it took 27 years for the police to name the person that killed Adam Walsh. Otis Elwood Toole confessed to the crime, but he later recanted. He was a convicted serial killer who actually confessed to dozens of murders and died in prison in 1996. Toole was a notorious confessor, and this confession came with demands. He sent a letter to John Walsh offering to show where Adam's remains were for a fee. He also sent letters to several publications asking for money in exchange for an interview and details of the murder. Anyways, Toole says he was at the Sears store the day Adam went missing. He was told to leave the store and later seen outside the front entrance by witnesses. Police believe that he convinced Adam to get into his car and maybe promised him something that Adam would have wanted, like toys or candy. Adam may have gotten upset during the drive, and then Toole drove to a deserted road to strangle him with a seatbelt and cut his head off with a machete. Investigators searched Toole's home and found a pair of green shorts and a sandal that was similar to what Adam was wearing. Police say they feel confident that Toole was the murderer and the case has been closed. Now, over the years, Toole did confess to many murders that he had nothing to do with. Toole confessed to killing Adam in 1983. He said he grabbed him from the mall and drove him about an hour before decapitating him. Like I mentioned earlier, he did recant, but his niece says that when he was on his deathbed, he admitted that he murdered Adam. But what if he didn't? And what if the head that was discovered wasn't even Adam's? Toole couldn't describe Adam's hair or clothes during his first confession. He couldn't even identify him from photos. He claimed to have buried the body near mile marker 126 of Florida's Turnpike, but nothing has ever been found. Even though he couldn't pick out Adam's photo, Toole seemed to have a lot of information correct, information that only the killer would know. Investigators later discovered that he may have been fed details about the case from a Jacksonville detective who was trying to cut a book deal with Toole. After Toole's confession, his face was plastered all over the news, and a girl said she recognized the gap between his front teeth. She was pretty sure this was the man who approached her at a Kmart around the time of Adam's abduction. He was pushing a shopping cart and said to her, "Let me take you for a ride in this basket." When Toole originally confessed to the murder, lab experts tested his Cadillac, and did find blood on the front and rear floorboards. They ended up removing 7 squares of carpeting that had bloodstains. DNA testing wasn't available at this time, so it couldn't even be tested. In '96, a detective wanted to test the DNA, but the carpet was missing. Get this, y'all, plot twist. Da-da. It turns out that the carpet had been signed out years earlier from someone who initialed JG. The detective that matched those initials was located, and he said he didn't recall signing the evidence out. There was also another problem. The car was missing. Now, how the F did they lose a whole ass car? Yeah, this podcast is good. Y'all got to go listen to it. Y'all really do. Like I said, I will link it in the description of this video as well as pin it in the comments. Very good job, ladies. Very good job. And the only reason I can't play clips or snippets because I'm not trying to get my channel struck down. I am not. But I think they did a fabulous job with this. So kudos to them. Now, the official investigation was kept under wraps for 27 years. It turns out that Adam was identified by a dental match. And this was based on just a single filing in a lower molar where kids commonly get cavities. It's possible that it may not even be the same molar, and Adam's parents never made a visual ID. A family friend did the visual ID, but there was no torso or fingerprints, and obviously no DNA because it was the 80s. The head that was discovered was brought to the nearest morgue, and they didn't have a forensic pathologist that was trained in autopsies. The office had an arrangement at the time where they would send cases to another location to a forensic pathologist that was experienced. While the remains were at Vero Beach Morgue, they did an external examination and wrote a document titled Preliminary Autopsy Examination. An autopsy is defined as a dissection, and this wasn't performed. Dr. Wright is the trained forensic pathologist that should have performed the autopsy and was credited by the media for doing so. There is no autopsy report, y'all. They ain't even no autopsy. The movie was made about Adam's story, and the day it premiered on TV, Toole was in Florida prison for murder and arson, told a detective that he killed Adam. So this is what actually sparked the confession. The Hollywood police couldn't wait to close the case because the case was ruining their reputation with tourists. Toole and his partner, serial killer Henry Lee Lucas, kept confessing to murders. Police actually lost count. They were confessing to hundreds of murders. In an attempt to remind Toole of the murders, they ended up feeding him the information about the case. Toole claimed that both he and Henry Lee Lucas killed Adam. Police found out that it was impossible because Henry was in jail when Adam was kidnapped. Toole was pretty much like, well, never mind. I did that one by myself. Yeah, I mean, come on now. So then we go to Jeffrey Dahmer. I know you're like, dang, this story takes some twists and turns. It really does, and I had no idea. There is someone else that is suspected of killing Adam, and that's the Milwaukee's cannibal Jeffrey Dahmer. There's a police report that proves Dahmer was working 20 minutes from the spot Adam disappeared. There's a true crime author named Arthur J. Harris that actually uncovered this little tidbit. When the police closed the case and decided Toole was the murderer, the files became public record. The author read through them and found 7 separate witnesses who identified Dahmer as the person they saw at the mall the day of the disappearance. 6 of the witnesses said they saw Dahmer with or near Adam, but police didn't seem interested in this. The Miami police report says that Dahmer worked at a Miami Beach sub shop. At the time, he had a blue van for deliveries. 2 of the witnesses at the mall said they saw a man take Adam into a blue van. For the first month, police tried to follow this lead, and they asked the public to watch for any blue vans, and they tracked down tons of them. 2 Publix truck drivers called a tip and reported that they saw a blue van parked off the turnpike near mile marker 131 just after midnight on August 7th. One of them saw a man with a flashlight near a canal standing by the blue van. The drivers looked at the vehicle to see if they were maybe fixing a flat tire, but there wasn't any visible issues. They noticed that the van seemed to be missing the front passenger seat. The police told both callers that this had nothing to do with Adam Walsh's murder. Dahmer's boss from the sub shop says the blue van had a milk crate for the passenger seat. So see, if the guy from the sub shop said that the blue van that Dahmer was driving didn't have a front passenger seat, it had a milk crate for the seat, that would mean you couldn't see a seat. That would mean if you were driving down the road and see a blue van with a milk crate as the seat, you would assume it had no passenger seat. So this seems to line up to me. But look, I ain't got no investigation credentials. I just got my YouTube investigation certification, okay? Dahmer was arrested in Milwaukee in 1991, and he had 11 severed heads in his apartment. By the way, if you would like me to do a video about Jeffrey Dahmer and that whole situation, let me know in the comments below. None of them were as young as Adam, but he had an arrest history of masturbating in public parks in front of kids as young as 12. Nasty. Just nasty. His U.S. Army bunkmate said that he'd been caught by military police doing the same thing with small children. I'll tell you one thing. If I ever see that, I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all. This mama stays packing her pocket knife, okay? If I see anybody ever doing this around some young kids, they gonna have a body part severed. Let's go ahead and be honest, because that ain't gonna happen. Nope. Just nasty. Why folks gotta be nasty? A composite sketch was released for the attempted kidnapping of a 10-year-old at another South Florida Sears just 2 weeks before Adam's disappearance, and there are definitely some similarities to Dahmer. Police asked Dahmer if he killed Adam, and he said nothing to do with it, and they believed him. Well, I mean, hell, if he admitted to doing the things he's done, then, why wouldn't he admit to that? A witness that was at the mall the day of the disappearance has a very interesting story. Lord, that's a last name. Janice Santomassino drove to the mall with her kids and saw a blue van there. She remembers this well because she almost slammed into the back of it, and it was parked illegally outside the west entrance of Sears. Lord, Janice was coming in hot, okay? She almost slammed into the back of it. As she says she remembered it. She headed inside and was looking for sandals for her daughter Lori. She was being a typical kid and asked to play an arcade game instead. Janice watched her daughter head towards the game and was standing next to a boy wearing an oversized hat, shorts, and a striped shirt. As they were leaving the toy department, Janice looked down an aisle and saw a disheveled man, and their eyes met. She was instantly uncomfortable and grabbed her daughter's hand. Later, she heard the intercom call for Adam Walsh and saw a distraught woman and man at the customer service desk. Janice noticed that the boy from the video game and the creepy guy from the toy aisle were both gone. As soon as Janice saw Adam's face plastered all over TV, she knew that it was the boy she saw in the video game, at the video game. Several witnesses reported that they didn't receive a callback from police after they described the person they saw at the mall. If the description didn't match Tool, they were dismissed. Another witness, Jenny Warren, says she saw Adam with his mother at the mall and noticed a man at the video games wearing beige khakis or army fatigues and was standing next to Adam. When she saw a photo of Dahmer, she knew it was him. Dahmer didn't emerge until 91 after his arrest charges involving decapitation. Once this happened, people that were at the mall when Adam disappeared called in and said they were sure it was Dahmer that they saw. Witnesses that were in the parking lot saw a man toss a child into a blue van that was parked illegally and took off, but other witnesses saw Toole's Cadillac in the parking lot later that day. Okay, my question after reading this, why did they wait this long to report this? Like, as soon as you see something like this happen, why wouldn't you report it immediately? Immediately. If you see something, by God, for the love of Jesus and these precious kids, if you see something, say something immediately or do something. Okay? Let me tell you what I would do, just to give you some examples and some options. If I see some man, and let me tell you something, okay? From my personal experience, I lost my best friend to this exact thing. This exact thing. I was working with her. I was the only one working with her. Some man came in that we didn't know. Okay, he went outside and put a razor blade in her tire. When she left, he followed her in his van. He waited for her to pull over with her flat tire. He snatched her, kidnapped her, done horrible things to her before he killed her. Okay, so going through something like that myself, personally, if I see anybody throwing any kid in a van, child, them folks gonna get run over. The van gonna get blocked in. Child, I'm finna do something physically. I ain't finna I'm finna do something, okay? Citizens arrest. You gonna wish it was citizens arrest. Citizens arrest. You gonna wish Barney Fife was up there, child. Okay? But I just feel really personal about this right here because I've went through something like this. And it's hell. It is hell. But anyway. A detective did go visit Dahmer to ask if he had anything to do with the murder of Adam Walsh. He told them that he was discharged early from the Army due to alcoholism and had no vehicle, never went to Hollywood, and worked long hours at a sub shop. He said he didn't kill children, but he didn't want to rot in prison. He said he would admit to the murder if it meant he could get a death sentence. The detective decided that Dahmer wasn't responsible for the murder because he would have confessed if he was. If Detective Hoffman would have looked into this further, he would have realized that Dahmer was a liar. He was often sent home from working at a sub shop due to his drinking. His boss always said that Dahmer had access to a blue delivery van, and 8 people were able to confirm this. The author Harris that was researching this discovered that there was never an autopsy report for Adam. Remember how he was just identified by that cavity? Well, his dental records were missing and a forensic dentist was never consulted for this. Plot twist. This could have never been brought to trial as a homicide case because they literally had nothing. There's something else super strange with the head they discovered. In the photo of Adam that was used for the missing picture, he was missing his 2 top front teeth. This photo was taken shortly before the disappearance, and Adam's best friend confirmed they hadn't grown in yet. The skull that was found had one of the top teeth, and it was grown in pretty good, like almost a full tooth. It was also a buck tooth. I'm pretty sure teeth don't continue to grow when you aren't alive. It's very possible that this skull belongs to another child who wasn't identified, and their family would never know the truth. And what would that mean for Adam? Is Adam alive? Now, this is what Megan Walsh has been saying. This is what she believes. And I've read a few comments. Y'all, some of these comments, some people in this world can be nasty. Just downright mean and hateful. Okay? When somebody speaks up about something as serious and close to them as this, how dare you be like, well, she seems kind of on drugs. She seems mental. I'm over here like, well, excuse me, ain't we all a little mental? Ain't you getting on the internet judging somebody else a little mental? I guarantee you, if you take your ass to a therapy session, which might I add, I've been in quite a few sessions myself, okay, going through the situations that I went through that I explained earlier. You know, as a blessing, I've had to go through therapy. And the reason why I say it's a blessing, because you learn a lot. Not only about yourself, but the psychology of people. But anyway, my whole point is if you go talk to a therapist, the therapist will tell you that that's a lot more damaging than, I mean, you sitting there on the internet judging somebody you don't know. Okay? I mean, come on now. I mean, that's what I do every day. But, y'all, I'm not hateful about it. You can't be hateful. If you don't believe somebody, if you think they're just off their rocker, just keep it scrolling. Just keep it scrolling. Don't stop and be like, well, they're mental, because your comment could trigger somebody else or offend somebody else, and how dare you? Don't do that. And just know if you try it, you're going to get blocked and deleted over here. But anyway. The author Harris thinks it's possible that Adam is alive. A man approached the author years ago and claimed he was Adam, but had a different name and a different family. The author wanted to clear his conscience and basically told this guy that he intended to prove his story wrong. The man told him he would find a misidentification. He went to the medical examiner's office, and this is where he actually discovered that Adam's parents didn't ID him, a family friend did. Then he found out there wasn't an autopsy report. How could this guy have known about any of this? The author says he did everything he could think of. He asked Adam's best friend from childhood to speak with this guy. The man that claimed he was Adam knew all sorts of things that only his friends would know about him, and it's not information from the internet. Apparently, this guy tried to speak with the Walshes, and they didn't want to hear it. He met with the Hollywood police for about an hour, and they didn't write a report or take fingerprints, DNA, or nothing. Harris mentions that y'all ain't gonna have me mispronouncing that. Y'all know I mispronounce enough words, okay? The mitochondrial DNA results were used to compare to the Adam Walsh's skull. The summary report says that DNA is consistent with the DNA from a tooth on the child. This ended up being overturned because the test results were contaminated and couldn't be used. Adam Walsh became the literal poster child for a movement to stop child snatchers. This forced people to rethink the way things were done. That ridiculous 72-hour waiting period before police will do anything to help suddenly seemed outdated. This case also shifted how people thought about child abductions. Previously, people believed that children were abducted by family members or someone they were close to. This ended up causing a panic in the 80s. Kids were afraid of stranger danger, and parents were becoming more paranoid. Adam's parents started the Adam Walsh Outreach Center for Missing Children 4 days after their son's funeral. This was started in their garage. During the investigation, Adam's parents tried to get the FBI to help, and they discovered that they wouldn't get involved in a case until there was proof that a kidnapping actually took place. Because of this, they lobbied for the Missing Children's Act, and in 1982, this required entry of missing children data into the FBI's National Crime Information Center database. In 1984, John Walsh co-founded the federally funded National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and 4 years later, he began hosting America's Most Wanted. By 1994, large retailers began implementing Code Adam. This would be the alert used for all employees to know that a child had been reported missing. In 2006, George Bush signed the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act of 2006, which expanded the National Sex Offenders Registry and created a National Child Abuse Registry. John Walsh and his son Callahan currently host the Investigation Discovery series In Pursuit with John Walsh. The family does firmly believe that Toole was the one that kidnapped and murdered Adam, and there's really nothing that can be done because he's dead. As I'm sure a lot of you know, there is so much more to this case. There's so many twists, turns, and plot twists. It's unreal. And it's unlikely for it to be discussed and covered in one video. So you already know there's going to be a follow-up to this. There's a lot of people and a lot of podcasts, a lot of creators that have covered this story and have done a tremendous job. Email me some links that y'all are watching. Email me some different creators that y'all are watching, some podcasts that are covering this. I am really interested in researching more and finding out more about this case. And I know there's a lot out there. And Megan's team has reached out to me wanting to state her side. So we might have Megan Walsh appear on the channel. I'll probably be trying to schedule a live or a video where we can sit down and stream and discuss some things so you can hear from her and hear her side. Now, it's highly doubtful. I'm pretty sure we're not going to hear from John Walsh or his side because, I mean, like I said, this has been covered so much. If John Walsh wanted to speak out, he would speak out. We all know there's 3 sides to every story. There's one side, there's the other side, and there's the truth somewhere along the middle. And that's what we're here to do, is discuss the facts, try to figure out the truth. Y'all, the dental records, the missing autopsy, the missing evidence, the dismissal of the lawsuit that John and Reve had against Sears. They dismissed that lawsuit when Sears' attorneys come forward and said that he was left for 90 minutes at that video game. And I'm over here like, well, why was she looking for a lamp or looking at a lamp for 90 minutes to begin with? You get what I'm saying? Another thing that was dismissed but is public was the family friend's deposition, which said he had an affair. That landscaper, he had an affair with Reve and lived with her, okay? He also talked about their cocaine and their marijuana usage that they would all like to partake in. The fact that the dental records can't even be found. The fact that the severed head that was found had one front tooth that was already fully grown through, and Adam Walsh had no front teeth, says a lot. To me it does anyway. But let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think Adam Walsh could be out there alive somewhere? Do you believe that this guy coming forward saying he's Adam Walsh, the family's not even wanting to talk to him. They're not even wanting to take a report. The police are not even wanting to do a DNA test. Like, are you serious right now? This guy is out here like, hey, I can prove I'm Adam Walsh. Hello? And nobody's listening to them. It's like, wouldn't that be the first thing you wanted to do, was do a DNA test? That would be my first thought process. But I'm just saying, I am no authority. I am no law enforcement. I'm just a human being who has common sense and morals. But here's the facts for this video. We will have a follow-up video. Y'all let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to thumbs up this video, share this video, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thank y'all so much for watching. I will see y'all in my next video.